Welcome, everybody. This is the Pipeline Podcast. Today is August 25th, and we're covering one of Trump's executive orders today. There's a couple other executive orders that he signed today, but we're going to have to cover those at a later date. So let's check it out here. Prosecuting burning of the American flag. This is a fun one. This is a very, very interesting one. I read through this, did a little bit of research, and it's not as cut and dry as you think. It's not as straightforward as you think. I'm sure you've seen some news stories about this, like, oh, Trump's going to put you in jail if you burn the American flag. And then you've also heard burning the American flag is protected under your constitutional rights, like freedom of speech and expression. And that's what we're talking about today. So the first thing we're going to do is go over this executive order. Then I have a few sources that kind of provide more information on this, and we're going to talk about it. So let's start by going through this executive order top to bottom. We're going to read all of it. That way, if you see any misleading news stories about this executive order, you'll be kind of aware because you will have listened to the entire executive order and know what's in here. Whenever you see something that's written about something, you need to go to the direct source, is what I'm saying. So if you read a CNN article about this executive order, that's going to be like a secondhand source. So you're not actually reading the executive order. What you're reading is CNN's thoughts on the executive order. And, anyone can write down whatever they want. We're more trustworthy because we're actually reading it straight from the source to you. You're welcome for that. So let us begin. Section 1, purpose. Our great American flag is the most sacred and cherished symbol of the United States and of freedom, identity, and strength. For 2.5 centuries, thousands of patriots have fought, bled, and died to keep the stars and stripes waving proudly. The flag is a special symbol in our national life that should unite and represent all Americans of every background and walk of life. Desecrating it is uniquely offensive and provocative. It is a statement of contempt, hostility, and violence against our nation, the clearest possible expression of opposition to the political union that preserves our rights, liberty, and security. Burning this representation of America may incite violence and riot. American flag burning is also used by groups of foreign nationals as a calculated act to intimidate and threaten violence against Americans because of their nationality and place of birth. So all this is doing, this first paragraph is just gassing up, trying to get you to support this executive order, but don't fall for that because it's like you have constitutional rights. So if someone does want to burn the American flag, they're allowed to do that. That's their right. So you read this and you think, yeah, maybe burning the flag would incite a riot, but you don't arrest the person that burned the flag. You would arrest the rioters. Those are the criminals. Notwithstanding the Supreme Court's ruling on First Amendment protections, the court has never held that American flag desecration conducted in a manner that is likely to incite imminent lawless action or that is an action amounting to fighting words is constitutionally protected. See Texas v. Johnson. And we'll look at that at the end of the episode. My administration will act to restore respect and sanctity to the American flag and prosecute those who incite violence or otherwise violate our laws while desecrating the symbol of our country to the fullest extent. The first paragraph is trying to get everyone to support locking people up that burn the flag. The next two paragraphs, the ones we just finished reading, are saying, yeah, there are laws behind prosecuting these kind of people that burn flags, but we're going to try to prosecute them to the fullest extent that we can. And they even bring up the Texas v. Johnson Supreme Court case that was held about this. So the Supreme Court has ruled on flag burning, and they've deemed that, yes, you can burn a flag, but it's a little more complicated than that. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. And so they kind of say here, yeah, we know the Supreme Court's decision. We know what they've said about it. So we're going to try and prosecute it as probably a different route. They're going to do other stuff. Say, instead of arresting someone for burning the flag, maybe they'll arrest someone for doing an unauthorized burn or something like that, if that makes any sense. Or maybe they might say, oh, you're inciting a riot, basically. You're inciting violence by burning the flag during a protest. You're trying to escalate things so it turns violent. They'll probably try to say that kind of stuff and prosecute you, see how that goes. Section 2, measures to combat desecration of the flag. The Attorney General shall prioritize the enforcement to the fullest extent possible of our nation's criminal and civil laws against acts of American flag desecration that violate laws. while causing harm unrelated to expression, consistent with the First Amendment. Yeah, they're kind of repeating what they said here. So they're like elaborating on how they're going to do it. If you burn a flag, they're going to arrest you, and they are going to try to charge you to the fullest extent possible, which basically means like, here's the extent, Texas v. Johnson. They can't charge you in a way that a judge could say you were using like your right to express yourself. If that is like in the charge, it's not going to work. That charge won't hold. They need to charge you with something that's like you were going to start a riot, or you're destroying property, or like you started a fire. They need to charge you with something else, not just, oh, they burned the flag. That's what it's saying that they're going to do here. They might say it was a hate crime or something, or it violated other American civil rights, or it was a crime against property and the peace. So they could say like, oh, you're starting a riot or you're destroying property. You know, they're going to try to charge you with stuff like that. And we'll see how that all goes in the courts, because like I was saying earlier, it's a little more complicated than, oh yeah, you can just burn a flag whenever, wherever you want. It's freedom of speech. So let's finish this up so we can talk about that. We all need to read this first. In cases where Department of Justice or other executive department or agency determines that an instance of American flag desecration may violate an applicable state or local law, such as open burning restrictions. So yeah, they might charge you on that, like no open burning. Disorderly conduct, maybe they'll drug test you, say, oh, he's high. That's, destruction of property. They could say like, yeah, the fire burnt property. They're going to try to charge you with stuff like that. They're just laying out more ways that they could charge you. Basically, if you do burn an American flag, you're going to get targeted, and they're going to try to find anything that they can charge you related to it to put you in jail. That's what this executive order is saying. They're very much aware that it is protected, and the Supreme Court has ruled on it. To the maximum extent permitted by the Constitution, the Attorney General shall prosecute those who violate our laws in ways that involve desecrating the American flag, and may pursue litigation to clarify the scope of the First Amendment exceptions in this area. And that was a fun one. So you think, oh, First Amendment, it's like absolute. There are no exceptions. But then you look into it and you realize, oh, wait, there are exceptions. So like an obvious example is like a hate crime, like saying certain things about like people's race and their like sexual preferences, like can sometimes be like a hate crime. So we do know that there are exemptions to the First Amendment. So think about that for a second, and then let's continue. Secretary of State, Attorney General, Secretary of Homeland Security, all three of them shall deny, prohibit, terminate, or revoke visas, residence permits, naturalization proceedings, and other immigration benefits, or seek removal from the U.S. whenever there has been an American flag desecration. So if you're here like on a visa, they'll just take that away if you burn a flag. Severability. This is just some legal stuff. General provisions. Yeah, severability is just like legal jargon. Doesn't really add to anything here. Oh, okay, that's it. So section 3 and 4 are just like legal jargon, just like stuff they put in executive orders. It's not really any more substance. So this is where we're at. So we have the executive order. You've read it, so now you can talk about it. You're welcome. And it says anyone who desecrates an American flag will be pursued to the fullest extent, like allowed by law. So basically, the best way I could say it is if you do burn an American flag, they're going to target you. They're going to look to get a charge on you. But they are very much aware they can't say, oh, it's because he burned a flag. But they maybe could say something like, he started a riot. They maybe can charge you on that. So here we just have a video of him signing the executive order. And there's two comments here, one by Trump and one by Pam Bondi that I want to cover. So let's watch this. It's only going to take a minute.
And what the penalty is going to be, if you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail, no early exits, no nothing. You get.
So yeah, I wanted to cover that because this is Trump right here. The executive order is what is like legally binding. This is how the Department of Justice and stuff is like now being instructed to like deal with people that burn the flag. But we have Trump just saying straight out saying it, if you burn the flag, we're going to give you 1 year. So that's, if you burn a flag, they're going to try and give you 1 year, but there's going to be a lot of court cases from this, I'm sure. And it will definitely like get appealed. We'll probably see it end up in the Supreme Court. I can almost guarantee that. So we'll see what happens. Pam Bondi talks a little bit, and let's listen to what she says.
President, what you're doing, and thank you for protecting the American flag, and we'll do that without running afoul of the First Amendment.
Good.
So there you have Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, saying, we're going to follow your executive order without breaking the law. And we know what Trump wants. He wants anyone that burns a flag to be in jail for a year. But then we have Pam Bondi telling him to his face, we're going to do that within the extent of the law. And he says, sure. He nods his head. He gets it. That's how the government works, everybody. This is what I think is going to happen. They're going to have to try and charge you on something else. Not that you burned a flag. They're going to have to try and get a little creative with it. Like take away your visa. That's a good example if you're on a visa. Here we have probably the first instance of a flag being burned after this executive order was signed. So we're definitely going to watch it. We can skip most of this and get to the part where he burns the flag. So here we go.
Do it for every single one of you Americans.
All right, so he burned a flag. Fast forward. It looks like he's getting arrested, but I'm a little unclear if he got arrested or just detained.
Do me a favor, I got a fuse right now.
A violation of his First Amendment right.
And then we have people saying it's a violation of his First Amendment right. But that's the thing. If he's not being arrested, if he's just being detained, it's not a violation. Also, if they're arresting him for open burning, or they're arresting him for, I don't know, inciting violence, then it's also not a violation of his First Amendment right. So we're going to have to follow this on the channel. I mean, this is exactly what we cover on the channel, this kind of crazy stuff. Very interesting. And we're going to have to see it play out in the courts. So it's going to take a little bit. We'll see the part at the end. I do recommend you watch this video, though. This guy is like a ex-military, like a disabled veteran. So I want to show them like they're like walking him away. So it looks like he's getting arrested, right? If he was just getting detained, they probably would have not brought him into like the car. It looks like, you know, they're booking him. So we'll have to see what the charge is. So we needed to cover that. This is definitely going to go to court. If they even charge him, they probably won't charge him. But I mean, we see Trump saying anyone that does it goes to jail. And then we see Pam Bondi saying, you know, we'll do it to the fullest extent that we can within the law. It means they have to get really creative with the charge. So we'll have to kind of see what happens. I'm sure we'll have an update on this kind of thing by tomorrow. And the last thing we wanted to cover is the Texas v. Johnson. So it's a case. It's a Supreme Court case. There is this dude, the Johnson guy. He goes by Joey. So Joey. And then it was Texas against Joey. And we're just going to read a little bit about this case. So it says, the First Amendment protections on symbolic speech prevent states from banning desecrations of the American flag. So it's saying right here, like, you can't ban people from burning the flag. So that's why they got to get creative and they got to find like other ways. They got to say like it's a hate crime or it was like discrimination or something to get around this. And basically what the case was over is it was this Joey guy. Literally, this takes place a while ago. He was a communist and he burnt an American flag outside of, I think, City Hall. But then the Supreme Court found that, yeah, you can burn a flag that's protected under free speech. And so here we're just going to read some of the opinions of these justices because they don't all agree with how the case ended up going. So the majority agreed with the ruling. And it says here, the defendant's conduct could be punished only if the state could show that it had a compelling content neutral reason for suppressing it. So this is it. Like, there is a way that you can get around the protections on burning flags. So like here, like if it breaches the peace or it causes an imminent threat, then you can charge them for burning the flag. And that's literally in this Supreme Court ruling that a lot of news sources and people are citing saying, hey, you can't ban people from burning the flag. And if you go and you read it, it says that in this case, no, his amendments were upheld, this Johnson guy, but it does say that there are ways that right would be revoked. basically the only ways that they state in the court case is if by burning the flag it somehow breached the peace, like maybe it started a riot, or it caused an imminent threat. It was going to burn somebody. It was going to start a fire. Like if they could have proved that, then the court would have agreed that, yeah, they were like justified in taking away his amendment rights, his First Amendment right to free speech. Then it would have been okay. But in this specific case here, they didn't do that. So what I'm kind of trying to say is it's more complicated than you think. It's not very straightforward at all. And there might be a little bit like this executive order might hold a little bit more weight than people realize. And it's definitely going to cause a case, like probably it could be this one, to go to the Supreme Court. And they're going to make a ruling on it. And if the Department of Justice can successfully argue that when you burn a flag that the person they're charging breached the peace or caused an imminent threat, if they can prove that, then it will actually be like a real legal thing that they can actually do. And then in the meantime, they're going to try to hit you on any other state or local laws that you might have broke. Like say there was a stay home like order, like a don't go outside order. Like say there's a protest and the police said, all right, there's a curfew tonight, and you were outside and burned a flag. Like they'll charge you on breaking the curfew or like doing a public burning. Right? If you're on a visa, they'll like revoke your visa. Like they'll try to get you any way that they can. So I guess my recommendation is just don't burn an American flag. And if you do, you might go to jail for a year. So watch out, like this guy. And that really is the video. Trump did do a couple more executive orders today, but this is the one that is like the big news story. So we wanted to cover that first. And then later on in the week, we are going to talk about his other ones. So if you like this kind of stuff, if you want more, definitely subscribe. And in a few days, we'll have a nice hot take on his other executive orders that he signed today. And definitely check out the channel, check out our other videos. Throughout the week, we do weekly updates like this on current events. And then every Wednesday, we'll do like a long form podcast episode. And we just go over whatever we want to talk about. It's really fun. Last week, we talked about the green grift. So basically, before Biden left office, the Department of Energy was just getting rid of all the surplus money they had so that Trump didn't gain access to it. And what ended up happening is they gave it away so fast, they gave it away to like unvetted entities, and a lot of them didn't deserve the funds. And it was like billions of dollars. So it was a really fun episode. We do stuff like that on Wednesdays. So subscribe and check it out if you like it, if you're into that.